Alright guys, so now let me show you some really basic commands that you're going to use all the time. The first one is how to create a new database. So by default, whenever we set everything up, we were given one database called local. Now if you guys don't even know what a database is, whenever you create a new project or a new website, each website that you create, you're going to want to create a new database for it. It's pretty much the main container for everything, for all of the data that's going to be on your website. You're going to want to throw into this database. Now, technically, a database is made up of different collections. Now, a collection is just groups of similar data. So let's say that you're making a social network. All of the users' basic information is going to go into one collection. All of their, let's say, posts are going to go into another collection. Anytime you want to have a group of similar data, you make a new collection. And each item in that collection is called a document, but I'll actually show you guys a couple examples. I think it'll be a little bit easier to understand. So let's just, in this tutorial, pretend that we're going to make a website about hockey. Hockey players, stats, a bunch of hockey related information. We'll call it hockey.com, like that's not taken already. Alright. So the first thing we want to do is we want to type use hockey, because remember, the database we're using right now is just local, and that's just the default one, so we obviously want to make a new one called hockey. Now you can run this by either hitting this green button or hold down control and hit enter, and we now switch to DB hockey. So we're now using the hockey database. So what this use command does is it pretty much looks and says, alright, do you have a database already called hockey? If you do, I'm just going to switch to that. If you don't, then I'm going to create it for you and switch to it. So this isn't only switching to a database, it's also the same command to create a database as well. It's actually pretty handy. So if you ever just want to check what database you're currently using, then you just type DB hockey. Obviously, no surprise there. If you ever want to delete a database, then you can just use DB, which gets the current DB of hockey, and you can call drop database, and that's going to delete the current database of hockey, and it says OK. However, I actually want to create and use that, so I'm just going to type use hockey again. And I'm also going to clear this out a lot whenever I have a bunch of info. So if you just right click it and hit clear all, it keeps all of the settings. So for example, we're still using hockey. It just, pretty much just wipes your slate clean. So now we have a database called hockey. Let's go ahead and insert some information into it. And I'll show you guys some cool things. Before this tutorial, what I did is I just made a bunch of sample JSON data. So if you go to my source code from tutorials on my GitHub page, and by the way, if you have your own data that you want to use, it's fine. It's not going to make a big difference. But if you want to use mine, follow along, go to my source code from tutorials, scroll down to this other sample JSON data, and I just have this real quick, Penguins players, which is just a bunch of information about players from my favorite team, Pittsburgh Penguins, what position they play, a random ID number that I got, their weight, height, birthplace, age, their name, and it has birth date and their number that's on their jersey. And if you want to use this one, bank data, then say that you were making a website for a bank. This is just, I don't know, like 35 customers or something with a fake balance in their name and all that good stuff. And by the way, I have to show you this because I can't keep it a secret any longer. If you ever just want to generate a bunch of random data and don't want to use any of mine, then go to this website, JSON Generator, and what you do is you pretty much type in all of the fake information that you want and you just hit generate, and it just makes a bunch of fake info from you, and you can put it in any format that you want. And actually that is how I got all this fake bank data right here. So this is just randomly generated users. This, however, is actually real information of people, so there you go. Alright, now what was I gonna do? Oh yeah, so let's say that we wanted to pretty much take this data and use it in our website. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and grab one of these dudes at the top. This guy is Craig Adams. He is, I don't know, not that great, but he has a lot of heart. So let's go ahead and add him, and we'll figure out how to do that. So in our database, which is hockey, remember, anytime we need to insert a new document or a new piece of information, it needs to go in a collection. So a collection, like I said, is just a group of data. What is this data about? Well, this is all just player data. Data about the individual players. So I'm going to name this collection players, and then after this, use a command called insert. Now, if you guys are like, you know what? You're trying to insert information into players, but you don't even have the players collection yet. Well, what this is going to do whenever we insert it is, just like before, it's going to look for a collection called players. If it doesn't exist, it's just going to create it for you on the fly. So inside here, you just throw in any object, which is Craig Adams, and I'm just going to go ahead and run this, and there you go. So it says I now have one collection called players, and it has one document, and that document is this right there. And just for fun, what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert one more. And who is this? Bo Bennett. He's pretty young. Alright, so if I want to insert one more player into the collection players, this is what I do. DB players, insert another player, Bo Bennett. Alright, so we now have two players inserted into our collection players. Alright, what if we want to actually add a bunch of these guys at once? Because if I have to go through one by one and copy all of these, that's going to take a while. Well, check this out. Let's just say that we want to grab all of these guys right there. We can actually grab the whole file, but I'm going to be doing a few things later. So what we can do is this. If we go to DB, players, insert, we can actually insert an array by using these little square brackets right here. Now inside this array, we can just throw in a huge list of players. And remember, separate them with a comma, and after your last one, since you don't have any after that, you don't use the comma. So now if we go ahead and run this, it's going to say inserted 7. Apparently I grabbed 7 new people. So we have those 7 that I just inserted and the 2 before it, so we should have a total of 9. So actually, let me go ahead and clear this, and I'll show you guys some stuff. So if we just want to take a step back and actually see what's going on, what we did, the first command that we can use is show collections. And if we run this, it says we now have the players collection, which was that group of data that we inserted everything into, and this system.indexes, this is just one that was given to us by default. It has to deal with behind the scenes stuff. Not really worried about it right now. So now inside this collection, let's say we wanted to look at all the documents, in other words, all of the players that we inserted. So we're going to DB, which is hockey, players, which is that collection, and we can just call the command find. So hit this, and it's going to find all of the players or documents that you inserted. Now, alright, it gives it to you in a nice long string. It's kind of all jumbled together. If you ever want to make this a little bit prettier or formatted, you can just go find. And by the way, I'll mention that. Anytime you want to just say you want to call this command again, but you're too lazy to type it out, in your command prompt you can just press the up arrow, and it's going to get the last command. So you can actually press up, cycle through the last couple ones, but remember, find just takes all the documents in a collection and displays it. Now we want to display it a little bit prettier, so the command for that is actually pretty. I'm not making this up. Hit enter, and we now get all of the nice, pretty, formatted documents in our collection. So there you go. Now, one other thing before I let you guys go is, if you have several documents like we do, I think we have, what do we have, like 9 or 11 players? 7? I can't remember how many, but we have a bunch. If we ever just want to get one and view it, then we call DB players, so database collection, and find one, which essentially means find one document. So it finds the first one. Remember, we inserted Craig Adams at first. So I know I gave you guys a lot of information in this tutorial, but just remember, you have a database, and inside it you have collections, and inside your collections you have documents. In other words, the individual players in this example. And if you guys, like I said, don't quite get the hang of it, then watch like 3 more tutorials and you guys will be fluent in MongoDB. But for now, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.